What up, YouTube? What up, NBA fans? Atlanta Hawks. It's not going as great as you thought it would be.
Uh,
Um, a lot of rumbling and talks of Trae Young, Dejounte Murray. Uh, we're gonna break it all down. What are you guys thinking?
First, it's kind of like let's figure out why we think Trey should be. I think Trey should be traded because he doesn't fit that team anymore. In the sense that it was kind of he was the star. He actually is the star power on that team, but that team to me has dog in it, and Trey's just not a dog. So if your leader's the weakest person, then I just don't see how you can be a good team.
It's going to come down to, yeah, if you want to dump Trey or DeJounte. But as a franchise, it looks worse if you dump. I think it looks worse if you dump DeJounte just because you just gave up all these assets for him. Where you traded for Young all those years ago, or you traded back and for the Luka trade. So, I mean, I think you just cut your losses. Where Trey, for all he can do on offense, is just such a minus on defense. And he just doesn't have the body to ever be more than a minus. So you need a very particular team around him, which is why the DeJounte trade was weird. I didn't ever love it. I liked it at first because they were trying something, but it clearly isn't working out. So you're going to have to trade one of them. You can't trade DeJounte till January 12th or whatever. But not that they're going to trade before then. I just think it's Young. I think Young has enough value because of the numbers he puts up, and he can fill seats in the arena where you can sucker some teams into paying close to $1 for $1.
Okay, give me a team. Where would you like to see Trey go?
All right, I was on the trade machine. I did 3 trades. They get more and more crazy as we go on. The first one, just making sure I have the info right. The Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are in this weird state of mediocrity. They aren't really tanking. They aren't competing for much. Their picks are owed, and their picks are all over the place. And their guy, okay, Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith for Trae Young and Sadiq Bey.
If I'm Atlanta, I come to you with that, and I was like, I might consider that, but I'm keeping Sadiq Bey, and I'm trying to off DeAndre Hunter.
Hmm.
Well, because I just feel like Sadiq Bey has more scoring potential, and then with the versatility I get back in Bridges and Finney Smith, then I can play any of those from the 2 to the 4, which makes that a very versatile team. Essentially, it would be Brooklyn Nets, but in Atlanta.
Yeah, you have Dejounte Murray with Mikal Bridges, Capella. I like it for the Hawks, and I kind of like it for the Nets. You get Trae Young in Brooklyn. It's a star that fills the arena. You get 4 Nets-Knicks games a year, and Trae Young playing the Knicks is always fun. So I kind of like it for both teams because they're both not where they want to be, and it gives them both a reset.
Also, it gives. See, the reason that trade makes so much sense to me, and I know Hawks fans are not going to agree with this, but AJ Griffin would be my starting 2 guard in that scenario for Atlanta if I get those players, because then I'm putting Mikal at the 3, AJ at the 2, and that gives me shooting.
What about Bogdanovich off the bench?
I like him off the bench because you could. I don't have to worry about you guarding anybody. We could switch everything 1 through 4 pretty much on defense if I had Mikal Bridges and AJ Griffin. So I like that trade. I don't hate it. I think Atlanta fans would hate it because I think they would expect more star power in return.
Right. They have an unrealistic expectation for what Trae Young is worth.
Yes.
Where I think in basketball, you get a good 3-and-D guy. I think Mikal Bridges alone. I'm not saying they're 1 for 1, but honestly, if a team would say no, it might actually be Brooklyn. Brooklyn might just say, we don't want Trae Young.
That's why I had that reaction when you first said that, because I'm like, if I'm looking at that from a Brooklyn perspective, I think I'd rather just keep Bridges because it's easier to build around that kind of player than it is a Trae. Like Trae Young going to Brooklyn, is solely, like you said, to sell tickets, to put up points
Mm.
and sell tickets.
It's
Which the Nets have done before. So for the Nets, it'd be a marketing move, where the Hawks would be a basketball move.
Correct.
All right,
But
number 2,
hmm
Trae Young, and Atlanta has Sacramento's protected first, so they throw that into for Brandon Ingram and Larry Nance Jr.
Brandon Ingram, and I like that, but I'm asking for more if I'm Atlanta.
If you're Atlanta,
If I'm Atlanta, I'm asking for more
Ooh,
because Larry Nance
I would be.
Jr. I could easily ship your ass off immediately. Like I have nothing going forward with you. You know what I mean? Like you're a rental, and that you might be the kind of player where we could involve a third player. And there's just too much good young talent over there in New Orleans that I'm trying to get my hands on. Whether it be like a Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels, or one of those guards, like if I'm Atlanta in that scenario, I'm trying to be as greedy as possible. But I do like Ingram on that team. I would love to see Ingram in the Eastern Conference.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if Ingram is that much. Who's the better player? Who would you rather have to start a team, Ingram or Young?
to sell.
Probably Trae.
It's Trae only because he doesn't miss as much time as Ingram. Ingram, he's still a little bit like soft in the ass. He never grew, so he has these weird little soft tissue injuries that happen, and before you know it, he misses 8 games every couple months.
All right, so maybe New Orleans throws in a pick rather than Atlanta, or pick your 2. But I like Brandon Ingram with Dejounte Murray and Capella. That's a good fit.
But do you think? I don't think Capella's gonna be there for much longer.
He's definitely on the trade block.
I actually do believe he's going to be one of those players that get. He's on the last year of his deal. He's too sought after, that kind of player. So I just think he's moving on.
You could get a third team in to take Capella then with these deals
Yeah.
also. I mean, it would probably be better for him to get it just all out the way. You have one press conference.
Okay, speaking of 3 teams, this is my most batshit one. This is like a 2010, 2011 era trade because this many stars would never move. 3-teamer. All right. Should I tell you who each team is trading or getting?
Who each team is getting?
Okay, so the Hawks are getting Zach LaVine and Marcus Smart.
Okay.
The Bulls are getting Trae Young, Bogdanovich, and Brandon Clark. And the Grizzlies are getting DeMar DeRozan. Wait. No, sorry. I made 2 versions of this. Sorry, start over. The Hawks are getting LaVine, Smart, Zaire Williams. The Bulls are getting Trae Young, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia. And the Grizzlies are getting DeRozan and DeAndre Hunter.
The Grizzlies are getting DeRozan. I like that for everybody but the Grizzlies.
See, I made that first one, and the Grizzlies were just getting DeRozan, and I was like, I feel like they're giving up way too much to just get DeRozan.
Yes.
So that's why I added in DeAndre Hunter. So that gives them a couple of wings. So you would roll with Ja, Bane, DeRozan, which would be a pretty solid 3. They still have Jaren Jackson and Adams.
That's my only issue is DeRozan's going to want to play where Jaren Jackson's going to want to play. But the DeAndre Hunter, I love that on that team. That 3-and-D player, that's kind of what they're missing. I like it. I mean, I'd prefer the first one, but
So what do you think about the Hawks' return? LaVine, Smart, Zaire Williams.
do you feel like Marcus Smart and Dejounte are too similar?
That was my concern. I kind of felt like they needed some defense back because that's been their problem is defending guards.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Marcus Smart just be your guard defender, but that would give you 3 guards basically with Smart, LaVine, and Dejounte. So that is the issue with it. But I'm thinking like Smart running a second unit.
Oh, he did it a lot in Boston. He ran the second unit. I like LaVine on that team also because he's just a bucket. You know what I mean? But then also it gets to the point where it's like, I don't trust you to play defense either, LaVine.
Right. So swapping one bag contract who can't play defense for another. but if you're Atlanta, you're getting a few assets back. Probably some picks would be thrown in there too. And then for the Bulls, you get Trae Young. I think the Bulls win this fake trade because they get off of Levine, they get off of DeRozan, and they get Trae Young and Brandon Clark just on their own.
I like that scenario because if I'm Chicago, and that my main focus is to free up money. I believe with Trae Young on that team, you could get a good free agent on that team, i.e., Anthony Davis. I think you could pull him from the Lakers.
And you need a quote unquote starting point guard with Lonzo Ball still out, at $80 million contract.
Yeah, I'm curious to see Hawks fans. Let us know which trade you like the best. But I'm curious to see of those three. I would assume they like the Brandon Ingram one because it's a bigger name.
This is going to be a hot take, I believe, but there's actually one team that I believe has the assets to get him in the form of draft capital. And for some reason, I just can't shake the feeling it's a really good fit for him, and that's Philly.
Trae Young.
Yes. Trae Young's ability to get his own shot is something that team could use. Trae Young's ability to play off the ball and run off screens and play off of Embiid in a form of like what Seth Curry and JJ Redick did would help that team. You obviously know how to hide a bad defender because James Harden's been over there. I think that's a good spot for Trae Young.
Would that take away from Maxey?
I don't believe it would take away from Maxey because I think the purpose is like Trae could still get his buckets off the ball. And regardless of what people say about Trae, Dejounte put up good numbers with Trae on the team. So I think Maxey's a better player than Dejounte, so he could continually do that.
But it makes it interesting that you brought Philly up because Tobias Harris is a name that a lot of people are looking at. So the way the NBA works, 3, 4, 5 teams in there, he could be a name on the outs when you bring a Trae Young in.
The thing about Trae Young that a lot of people have to take into consideration, and this is my personal opinion, as it pertains to where he should go, is you cannot have a team in this league today with 2 small guards. One of your guards has to be relatively big. Like, think about Golden State when people thought Curry was really soft, he couldn't guard. It was like, it doesn't matter because Klay's a big-ass guard who can lock it up. So that's why, yesterday when we were talking, I thought a good spot for Trae, would be Detroit because Cade can cover for what he can.
The funny thing is, I was trying to find a way to reunite Quinn Snyder and Donovan Mitchell in Atlanta, but that would be the problem. You'd have 2 small guards, no matter if you traded Dejounte or Trae, and I don't think that would work unless you did some crazy-ass trade with both of those guys, but it would be cool to see Mitchell and
Quinn
in Atlanta because that's a guy that they're going to need to trade.
Oh, we can move on to him next. I got a spot for him.
Before we move on, I did see a thing, though, that said the Lakers might be interested in going after one of the 2 guards, Trae or Dejounte.
I think Dejounte would fit better. I think Trae would drive on crazy on defense. To the point where he would help their half-court offense, I think his defense would be such a liability that LeBron would just retire.
Yeah, because you can't hide LeBron and Trae. You can't hide 2 players.
He already has D.
Right, LeBron would have to play D in the regular season and be pissed.
All right.
Who would they trade? I mean,
to Atlanta, I would take Jalen Hood-Schifino because you just drafted that point guard, so I want a point guard back.
Russell's contract?
I stay away from him at all costs. I would rather let the deal fall out than get D'Angelo Russell on my team. I do not like that dude. I do not like how he plays basketball.
I agree.
You have players there. Rui could be a player.
Yeah, it would have to be Rui, Hood-Schifino, and whatever picks you have available.
None.
But I don't think that's not enough to entice Atlanta. It would have to be like a 3-teamer again, where
Yeah, where
Lot of
somebody
really
might
different
want D'Lo or Rui Hachimura or Jackson Hayes or something like that.
but yeah, Atlanta's got to do something. They can't just keep running it back with. The only case you could say is, hey, when everyone counted Minnesota out after their first year together last year, and now look what happened. But it's not the same with Atlanta. I know this is Quinn's first year fully in charge with this set of guys, basically, but I don't think this is going to magically fix itself with the guys they have. They have redundant guards. They're just kind of stuck. Like you said, Capella has been on the way out. John Collins was on the block for 10 years, his whole career, before he finally got traded. And
Capella's a very movable asset, in my opinion, because you already have an immediate replacement for him. I forget how to pronounce that dude's Okongwu, I think his name is. I love how that dude plays basketball. Like, he's an immediate replacement. So, like, to me, I would straight up be trying to use Capella to sweeten the pot with a Trae Young trade.
I think you get Dallas involved because everyone, I mean, Capella to Dallas has been floated for years, and it apparently almost happened. And people like Derek Lively right now, but I'm just not convinced Lively is going to hold up in the playoffs because the West is big. You need bigs, and having a rookie center going against AD or Jokic,
Well, look,
Capella could really help.
I agree with that, but, like, he's a rental. As long as people understand that he's a rental, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to me, the team that makes that trade, if that's the package coming out of Atlanta, it has to be a team that is like right there. Like, I just need that one little thing to get us over the edge. Like a developmental team, it wouldn't help. I don't believe.
So, what do you think Atlanta should quote unquote blow it up or retool on the fly?
I believe you have enough talent on that team to retool on the fly. To your point, you just said about Minnesota, like Atlanta can't turn it around like Minnesota did. The reason that that's true is because we operated under the assumption Minnesota could not turn it around because Big Cat was not capable of doing that. Luckily for Big Cat, Anthony Edwards said, "Well, this is my team now. I'm the dog on this team. Do as I do." There's nobody in Atlanta that's going to do that for Trae. Like Dejounte
Yeah,
can be a leader, but he's not a star.
Right. That's a good point because Trae and Big Cat are similar in terms of what they're worth to a team in terms of contending. But yeah, they don't have an Anthony Edwards. And honestly, as much as we make fun of Gobert and I make fun of Gobert, Atlanta doesn't really have a guy like that. Like Capella's a good rim runner, but you don't have where Minnesota has the pieces to contend soon, I think, if not this year, soon.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta doesn't. Atlanta is not one guy away or two guys away. I don't think you can, and this is a very first take thing to say, but I don't think you can win a title with Trae as your best player.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Man, how do you feel about Trae to Boston? Because I could see Atlanta being ridiculously good with Jaylen Brown on that starting lineup, and I could see Boston being good with Trae on that lineup.
I'd rather have Jaylen Brown though if I'm Boston.
I just don't like Jaylen Brown and Tatum anymore. Like, I just don't see that
Yeah.
group working. That's the
If it
one I'm ready to
doesn't-
split.
If they don't win the title this year, and watching them play the Pistons last night, they have so much talent, but something's just off. They're not like broken, but like you should be killing that team at home. And I know the Pistons they had a lot more to play for than Boston did, but it's just weird no matter who they have, and their starting five is legit, but that's besides the point. Jaylen Brown in Atlanta would be a good fit, and he's been rumored for so long.
I have the answer to your Boston question. I understand why that team plays that way. Most teams operate under the assumption like we are going to run a structured system for a majority of the game, and when we need it, our stars take over. That's just kind of common knowledge in basketball. Like, that's how superstars are made. They do that shit backwards. Like, let's let our stars try to go off, and once we establish that they're not for today, let's play team basketball. The problem is they don't always know what they're supposed to be doing as a team. So it just looks like flat basketball.
That coaching.
That too.
And Atlanta has good coaching. So going back to Atlanta, I mean, you have Quinn Snyder, who's a win now kind of coach. And especially in the regular season. So if you're not putting up wins with Quinn Snyder in the East, I don't think that's on Quinn Snyder. I think that's on the roster.
It is. It is. But also, as you said it earlier, like stylistically, some of them guys just don't go together. Like Dejounte and Trae just on paper does not look good.
That's like a 2K. That's a 2K team.
That's a
2K
2K team on a person who don't draft that well, because even on 2K, I don't know that I would want those two.
It'd be hard to get stops, which that might have